Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. Let's talk about the deepest position in the draft. Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com says there are 24 NFL starters at defensive tackle in this draft. By far the deepest position. I'm just going to give you 5 of them, but there are 19 more. So if you don't get one of these 5 and you don't get one of the other 19, you either don't need one or your general manager's a doofus. Number 5, Derrick Harmon from Oregon. Best defensive lineman by a lot of measurables in the Big Ten this year, although I have a couple other Big Ten linemen ahead of him just for different reasons. I really like Derrick Harmon. I think that the distance from 1 to 5 on this list, and honestly from 1 to 10, is not really all that great. It is a very, very close class. Like, there are guys who didn't make this list, like Deion Walker from Kentucky, who's a huge space-eating guy. Josh Farmer from Florida State, who had a little bit of up and down season this past year, but certainly an NFL player. Derrick Harmon, Oregon, checks every box. Run stopper, gets after the quarterback, eats up 2 blockers most of the time. That is a dude right there. Number 4, Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. One of the dark horse biggest keeps for Ohio State last year. He had a shot to go in the draft in 2024. Decided not to and stayed and was a part of that national championship run. And when you put him in that line with Tuia Olamau and Jack Sawyer, you got lethal pass rush and run defense. That's how they were able to stamp out Notre Dame in the national title game. This guy had big games almost every week. He's a run stuffer. He's a pass rusher. Every single thing you want. Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. Number 3. Kenneth Grant from Michigan. A lot of Big Ten dudes on this list. In fact, at least 4. Almost, actually, 4. 4 Big Ten guys and an SEC guy. Big Ten dominating on the defensive line now in college football, which is not a surprise considering they've had the last 2 national champions in Michigan, Kenneth Grant's school, and Ohio State, Tyleik Williams' school. He's not even the best defensive tackle from his own team, but won a national title, was a huge part of the team this year that was able to make a bowl game in spite of the fact that, I say this over and over again, they had no functional human quarterback. It was not a thing that they had. Kenneth Grant was a huge part of why that defense was so dominant and able to keep Michigan in games without any kind of real offense. Number 2, Walter Nolen, Ole Miss, formerly of Texas A&M, one of my favorite players in this year's draft. He's a unicorn size-wise, where he's tall and big, but also, even though he's got a little bit of a punch here, kind of lean for a defensive tackle. He's fast. He gets after the quarterback. He is violent, and he was the #1 recruit in the country just 3 years ago. So you cannot go wrong putting Walter Nolen in the middle of your defense, a superb athlete that every single school in the country honestly would have kidnapped the first lady for. They would have done anything it took, held somebody for ransom, robbed a bank. They would have done all of that because Walter Nolen is that dude. And number 1, Mason Graham from Michigan. You've heard a lot about this guy. Top 5 ranked player by pretty much everybody, whether it's Jordan Reed or Matt Miller or Dane Brugler or Mel Kiper. They have him in their top 5 available players for the draft. Does he go top 5? I don't know. The Patriots at 4 make a lot of sense for picking him up. We don't know what they're going to do. Their bigger problems are on offense. But Mason Graham, dominant. As a matter of fact, the Cowboys drafted Mozzie Smith a couple years ago. I think they thought Mozzie was better because of the other 2 guys that are on this list in Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Those are the real 2 dudes, especially this guy right here. Someone you do not want to mess with, was on top of my dudes list this year. Mason Graham from Michigan, the #1 overall defensive tackle. That is the last of the top 5 for today. We're back with more tomorrow. That's the end of the show. Smokey, I've got to pee, so please say goodbye.